Stephen Bartlett is a unicorn, a great interviewer. He gets amazing guests. He's been so consistent over the years. That's why he's the #2 show in the world. Of course, he thinks that podcasts are going to work.
We need a reason to believe I should buy this thing.
Consistency builds trust, and I don't think that's it. You can post consistently on a social platform and not have trust with people.
Short form is for awareness, and long form is for depth.
The cool thing about being a business owner is you get to start with the monetizable product, whatever that thing is that you are selling to somebody else, and then you get to then use media to sell it.
Hey, before we get started, may I ask a favor? And would you hit that subscribe button? It's super easy in this feed-driven algorithmic world to not hit that because videos like this might just show up for you. But by hitting that subscribe button, it tells us that we're actually doing it right, that we're actually creating content and bringing on guests and having conversations that are valuable to you. So if you would do that, we would so appreciate it, and we will do our best to keep bringing valuable content. Thank you. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the state of the union with podcasting. And so Brian and I, we're going to talk about a few different things, what these things actually mean for businesses, and we'll also do some maybe controversial where we don't 100% agree on everything, hot takes at the end. So be sure you stick around for that. So let's talk about some of these trending things like Netflix and TikTok.
Yeah. I think this is super interesting. So if you don't know what already was happening with this, Netflix has started a video podcast category that they're not just allowing anyone to submit to, but they've handpicked a number of podcasts that are then getting posted on these.
Yep.
And so I think it's a really interesting sign about video podcasts, because Netflix has kind of been known from the get-go as like a curator.
Yep.
Right? They've got this idea where like back in the day, it would always have the best movies that would be sent to your door, right? And it would have all the newest releases, all the really cool stuff really quick. And then as time goes on, Netflix becomes a streaming service, and then they're like culture conversations. Mm-hmm. Like, remember when Squid Games came out and everyone was talking about it? And like the number of shows that they've had on there that have been culture specific, like don't they also have like what's that Korean drama that everyone was paying attention, like Parasite or something like that?
Yeah.
But like things that like you go to the water cooler and you talk about.
Yep. Stranger Things. Like
Stranger Things.
Yes, right. Totally.
So it's really interesting that they're like, you know what, we're going to put a bet on podcasting.
Yeah. I am. So, again, we'll talk a little bit about this, but then like translate this a bit. But I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure it can't work for all podcasts for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They have to have a premium look for one, because this is freaking Netflix. Like you have to look good. Like it has to be multi-camera, 4K, like all these different things. I feel like podcasts that work on there will have to be tied to the shows that are on there. This is my theory.
No, I think you're right.
Because I'm like, so, you know, Stranger Things season 5, part of it's come out already. And I did go to YouTube and watch the like behind the scenes reactions of the actors watching the movies and then them kind of reacting to specific parts or whatever. Yeah. And like I could see that working super well. Yeah. Like let's do after Jake Paul fights somebody else again, like let's do like a podcast reaction to that or something like that. Well, so these reaction style podcasts to specific shows on Netflix, I think could do really well.
Well, there is already like the show that I think of in that specific moment is This Was Us. Because there was the This Is Us show that everyone was talking about for a while. And then the couple of them got together, made a podcast about that show.
Perfect.
And I think that would be totally something that would live on a Netflix, or although I think This Is Us might have been like a Hulu.
Yeah, I think it was Hulu, and then but that kind of
sort of thing. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing. Like I don't foresee like one of the weird things about Netflix is that I don't go to it for like relevant topics, right? Like I heard somebody else give this critique and I was kind of thinking I agree with it, where it's like I don't go there expecting like the most recent YouTube video to show up on Netflix.
Not daily.
Not daily
right?
updates
like, maybe once a month you'll be like excited about something that comes on, but that's like a show or a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not like the real time, like you go to YouTube and refresh and, you know, whatever.
Because I don't, like, as someone who enjoys podcasts, I don't think I would ever turn on Netflix to be my podcast provider. Like, I can't.
I don't really see that switch happening. Also, the other problem they have with this is the podcasts that are on there, at least with the contracts that are currently, from my understanding, the contracts that are currently being signed, the long form video can only be on Netflix.
Yeah.
You can show clips and different things, but like, and there's even limitations on how big the clips can be, but like, or how long, but like, that's the one place you see it. The beauty of podcasts in general are they're available on whatever medium you want.
It's not gated in any way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so one, this is pay gated, right? So because you have to have a subscription, which most people do, but not everybody.
Yeah.
And then, and so that's a huge problem. Why, like, I have some notes in here, but like, why do you think Netflix has made this switch? Like, why are they going after podcasting?
Well, again, this is not an original idea, but when I was doing a little bit of research into this, like every big organization that exists, when they are the curators of the content, they usually are several steps behind culture. Right. And Colin and Samir love to talk about the idea that 2024 was the podcast election. Like they believe that the difference was made because Trump and Harris went on podcasts.
Exactly.
And so I think that Netflix saw that, but they're a slow-moving machine.
Yeah.
And so they said, you know what? We see how popular video podcasts are. Our platform already exists. We just need to tweak it, and then it works. But at this point, YouTube, Spotify, like other platforms, even I think Patreon even has like a platform where you can see podcasts inside of Patreon.
Think I've heard that, yeah.
And so there's a lot of other things in the game right now that I would already go to if I were looking for a video podcast that I wouldn't go to before Netflix.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, like if I were to translate this for like, what does it mean for business? The big thing that I think about with this is that when you see massive institutional investment in video podcasting, it doesn't mean that the ship has sailed. It just means that it means that there is actually a valuable insight that multi-billion-dollar corporations see, like, oh, there's something actually valuable here. People are still paying attention to video podcasts. So they're going to invest millions into the idea of getting shows, paying for their exclusivity clauses, putting them on Netflix, and then seeing where it goes. So that tells me that as a business owner, I still think podcasts are relevant for audiences.
Because of attention, I think, right?
Yes.
Because like, I think that's why Netflix is doing this, is because they want more attention. They want eyeballs on their app as much as possible. I'm not sure. I feel like this is going to be consumed differently. It will have to be, but like they're paying attention to this because their customers pay attention. And so they're paying for the attention.
I think the hard thing is that what they're doing is they're trying to play catch up to already these big popular platforms. Like YouTube already exists and this is free. Like I don't have to pay anything to watch any YouTube like podcast that I want to.
Exactly.
Like I don't have to pay for YouTube Premium. I don't have to pay for Spotify Premium to be able to listen to podcasts or even watch podcasts. And so for me, it feels a little bit late in the game, but I still see it as a culture marker.
Yeah, for sure.
Where I still think the culture exists that like people really want this. And businesses recognize that people really want this because a company like Netflix wouldn't make this decision without data. So they've got the data that proves that this is actually something worthwhile.
Yeah.
So they went after it. So I think the same thing should happen when we talk about businesses. They know, like, if we're seeing the big boys playing in this field and constantly talking about podcasts and doing podcasts and creating content like that, there should be a way that us, the little guys, can do it too.
Yep. That makes sense. Well, okay. So
I'm curious, actually, I want you to talk about this one.
Yeah.
Because I think this is really interesting. So the second thing that has come out in the news in the last couple months was TikTok connecting and partnering with iHeart Radio to basically create their own like podcast network of TikTok people.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
I feel like, okay, so yes, iHeartRadio is partnering with TikTok creators, popular TikTok creators, to create long-form podcasts. I'm not 100% sure if all of them are video right now. I think they're at least trying to go that direction. But like that, so okay, there's the people who are getting others' attention, the creators of TikTok, right? But then there's the medium of podcasting. So right now, TikTokers are really good at short form content, keeping your attention for short periods of time. Now, I'm curious how this is going to translate when it's a longer format show. Not everybody is good in regular conversation, especially if they're used to thinking in short, quick sound bites, catchy hooks. Which
or
we'll
super
talk a little
scripted
bit.
environments.
Yes. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting, but I think, iHeartRadio, they are really big on trying to, they're big data people, and they're also like wanting attention. Right. And so all of this is trying to get more and more attention of the population, right? Whoever the people are that listen. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just super interesting. I understand the desire to go after people who seem to be able to get and keep people's attention. I just don't know that it's going to work the way that maybe they think it will. I'm super curious how it will. They know way more than me, so I'm not saying that that's not true. But
well, I think the interesting thing is that, again, this is TikTok, famous for short form. Like, I don't think you can post longer than like 5 minutes on TikTok. Like, if I remember correctly, it's like 5 or 10 minutes. Yet they see some sort of value in long format content.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really interesting thing to see, because they're recognizing that there's this weird gap where it's like you have short form video and then you have long format video. There's almost like no space for that medium format content, if you think about it. And so TikTok is putting this bet down saying, you know what, we are going to subsidize our biggest creators, give them cash, give them production help, give them a process to create podcasts that are under the TikTok banner and the iHeartRadio banner.
Yep.
And I think that's really interesting to think about. And again, another example of why institutional investment like these larger companies is proving that video podcasting, or just podcasting in general, is actually still incredibly relevant.
Yep. Video can actually be up to 10 minutes.
10 minutes on TikTok.
But some users say like recording like limits up to 60 minutes, but that's not everybody. So anyways, but still, it's still, that's not the norm, and it's still shorter form. So that's really fascinating. Okay. So that's kind of some of the big headlines with some recent stuff.
Yeah.
But you wanted to talk a little bit about Flight Story and some of the stuff that's happening there.
So for the context for people who don't know, Flight Story is one of Stephen Bartlett's companies. And Flight Story basically is an investment fund that invests in companies and then creates podcasts to help sell the products that they're selling. And so one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that they've talked about it for a little while, but they've never really talked about the results of it. Because in some ways, I thought that Stephen Bartlett is a unicorn, right?
Right.
Like, he's a great interviewer. He gets amazing guests. He's been so consistent over the years that, like, That's why he's the number 2 show in the world.
Right.
But so I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like, of course he thinks that podcasts are going to work, but will his hosts that he is investing in actually work?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that they found that it's actually a scalable model. So I cannot, for the life of me, find the reference, but I was listening to him talking the other day. It might have been on his show. It might have been on Behind the Diary. But he basically said that they were uncertain if this model would work until they started to see that they were getting 1 million plus downloads on podcast episodes from people who are not Steven. And they just knew that this process of creating video podcast content, because it's all high quality, just like the stuff that Steven normally pumps out for himself.
Right.
Taking all of those things and selling products actually works. And he talks often about how he would put in multi-million-dollar investments into organizations. And then when he couples it with a podcast, it turns into this selling machine that didn't exist before. And so I think that's an incredibly important lesson for us as business owners to think about, because we need the ability to be able to see case studies like this as say, hey, this is actually a scalable model. If you can create engaging content that is really valuable to the people who are watching, you can actually use that as a model to gain trust and then eventually sell the products that you're trying to sell.
Yeah. No, that's and I would say like products and services, like so this isn't just B2C. There's B2B businesses that they are partnering with and whatever that have ads on the show. So yeah, I think it's so, I love that he's kind of making this a provable model because it just shows that like we connect with people. And when people are recommending something, like we need a reason to believe I should buy this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking with somebody a couple weeks ago, and I was like, man, or they were saying that they will spend way more money on a product just because they trust the person who recommended it versus the cheap version or whatever.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm kind of the same way. Like I would much rather, I'd rather spend money once. And so instead of over and over. And so like, yeah, that having that built-in trust that this, whatever partnership you've worked out or whatever, this is a part of it. This is the trust building machine for you. And every business needs a trust building machine. If you don't have that, then what are you doing? Like, so I think that's super important. And I love that Stephen Bartlett's doing this.
Yeah. There's something that it seems like is a fallacy out there in the marketing world where consistency builds trust. And I don't think that's it.
Yep.
Like you can post consistently on a social platform and not have trust with people.
Yep.
Like it just doesn't work that way. The way that you build trust with people is through human connection.
Yes.
And so the best medium we've ever found for human connection over social media is, well, actually one of two ways. It's either podcasts or live streaming. And we're going to talk about live streaming in a minute because I think that one's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But I think those two platforms are long format, engageable with your audience. People get to understand you. You can't fake who you are over massive amounts of podcasts, like long time recording, all that sort of stuff. It's incredibly hard to hide your true self, and people will pick up on it. And so they know if they can trust you or not because of the content you pump out.
And to be clear, in person is always the best, right? But if we're talking about like scalable platforms and methods, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Should we talk about?
Yes. Okay. This one's really interesting. So there's also a school of thought out there that if you're trying to find influence, you need to find where people are. And one of the things that I've started to noodle with a little bit that I think is really interesting is what if the podcast is actually the secondary item to what you're creating? What I mean by that is if you create podcasts with short form designed into it, I think you actually have a greater chance at potentially engaging and retaining audience. So one of the things, the first examples that I think was really interesting is a show that is built for Instagram first. Colin and Samir turned me on to this one first but I had seen it pop across my feed and I didn't know what was going on. Recently, there's a show called Subway Takes, and we've probably seen it come across our short feeds at some point. And it's basically two guys sitting on a bench in a active subway, holding Metro cards with little mics pinned to them. And first, that instantly makes you like, what is going on right now? And they just sit there and say, what's your take? What's your hot take? And it's all these weird takes of things that are like just out there, but you're like, oh, wait a minute, that totally makes sense.
Like Colin's was, we need to standardize handshakes, and I 100% agree. Yes. I am with that because there's not a regular like greeting, because like sometimes you come in, sometimes you actually like do the standard handshake, sometimes fist
like,
bump.
It's
just like, can we just all do the same thing? Like I'm always like very aware of what the other person's about to do so I can change at a moment's notice.
Yes.
And so anyways, that really resonated with me. I was so for that.
I fall too much for the like someone goes for a fist bump last minute, I go for a high five, and then it's this weird, it's
turkey.
Terrible.
Yeah, right.
Oh, so bad. But one of the things that I thought that was so interesting about that show is they built it so that it can be short form first.
Yeah.
But then become long form if it's worth it. So they have this method for how they film, and it's really great, but it could be like a 2-minute interview and then it's done. Yeah. It could be a 15-minute interview. Yeah. And what they do is if it is a great 15-minute interview, they upload it as a podcast online. Yeah. Now, of course, the main audience isn't there.
Sure.
But what they did find is that like there were valuable pieces of information that other people would subscribe to via Subway Takes, but it's just now on a podcast platform instead of just Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really interesting too because Instagram for Subway Takes, if my memory serves me correctly, they have way more followership and get way higher views on Instagram than they do on TikTok and than they do on YouTube Shorts.
Yep.
And I think that is a testament to if you want to connect with the people that you're trying to connect with. Yeah. So say you're a business and you're trying to connect with people, you need to find ways to be in front of those people and where they are.
They are, yes.
And so when I think about a business, if there's a B2B style business and they know that LinkedIn is their target market, well then they need to be thinking about short form for LinkedIn when they're thinking about recording a podcast. So there's a couple different ways that could happen, like where you build a segment into your podcast that is all based around the idea of things you could get for short form. Yeah. So like lightning round questions that'll turn into something really interesting for short form. Yeah. Doing hot takes or something like that on the episode. Anything you can do to build in moments that would be extremely clippable, extremely funny or interesting or whatever, those will all get wider distribution on the platform that you're looking to grow on. Yeah. And so I think it's really interesting to think of that because like there are shows now that exist. Like there's a show called Game Changers. It's basically like an improv like game show that you would see on TV almost. It's like as if like Bob Barker met improv comedy. It's it's a weird combo. Like
that's a funny picture.
I know, right? And they have a full length version of video online, but they thought about, hey, we're going to build this Instagram or short form first. And my feed is constant. And now obviously I love watching it because it's hilarious, but my feed is constantly filled with them because everything that they do is clippable. Yeah. Everything can be made into short form. Yeah. And then eventually that gets them that wider distribution than more than just their subscriber count.
Video needs to do something for your business. And here at the Cincinnati Podcast Studio, we create video content that helps people know, like, and trust you because it's you on camera. We love talking head video content, whether it's podcast format, webinars, or other social media content. We want to to feature the people behind the brands, because we believe that when people see your face and hear what you think, that will attract the right kind of customer. If you're a CEO, a thought leader, a marketer here in the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, I'd love to talk with you. Just book a discovery call today at cincinnatipodcaststudio.com/discovery or click the link in the description. Now, I'm going to push back on this a little bit because while everything you're saying is 100% true, I'm thinking about businesses. Mm-hmm. Businesses are very different than the examples you gave in terms of the content that they create.
Yes.
And so now some of them, it's like, depending on the brand, can be a lot more lighthearted and funny or quirky or whatever. But like how, I don't know, let's brainstorm this a little bit. Well, I'll give one idea and then we can brainstorm this a little bit. But like, how can a business do that? So if we're thinking about like, all right, LinkedIn first, right? Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I was thinking of as we were talking about it earlier was like this almost overarching principle. Can you like say something succinctly in a way that somebody would be like, yeah. Right. And so like, because if they do, then it's like, maybe they'll hit the like button or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, I was thinking about how, people can give these definitions for things and then like a brief explanation, or like I saw a guy, he's local here. He used to work for Toyota. And he was talking about this Japanese concept. So he like explains this. He says what the concept is, what it means, and then he teased it out a little bit, and that was like his short form content. Mm-hmm. So things like that can be really, especially unique to you guys and like what you do, your ethos, like. I think that could be really great to have segments like that baked in, or you throw that into the conversation, like plan out the fact that you're going to do that.
Well, so one of the things about the algorithms that exist so far on social media is that they're very much interest-based versus subscriber-based.
Yes.
So like you can subscribe to shows and you may not see every single clip that they make out of that show on YouTube or whatever. Right. But the thing that will happen is, say, recently I've been doing a lot of, like, I've had a lot of fun looking at leather work, like leather crafting videos. Yeah. And so now my feed is full of all these different leather workers that is really interesting, and yet I never subscribed to them.
Yep.
And so I think one of the things that's important is to realize that we will find an audience if there is anyone out there in the world who has the exact same interests as we do.
Yes.
So say this business creates, they sell a service, like they're like a SaaS business that sells to other businesses, and they talk about, it's like a CRM or something like that. The thing is that there are people who are already looking at videos about CRMs online.
Yep.
And so the algorithms recognize that, oh, hey, this is another video, another short form piece of content that is talking about CRM centric content.
Yep.
So they will feed that video to this person because they want, like the platforms, the social platforms want the engagement, the longer term visit to their website.
Yep.
So they're going to try to give the right type of content to the people that they think want it.
Exactly.
So this SaaS company just needs to make a bunch of short form content on their podcast talking about CRMs and different ways to use it, hacks. How can you lay out your template? What is this? Maybe they'll sell another template for how to make it really interesting. Yeah. How to tag people appropriately, how to track win-loss, all that sort of stuff. And if you make content around that, one, you become a subject matter expert. People will continue to watch. And then you create a bit more of a following because they're like, oh, that 30-second clip was really valuable. Let me go follow their podcast. Yeah. And in the podcast, you talk about your company.
Yep.
And then they get to know more about you and your company. And they trust you because you are the expert.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it was interesting. When we were looking at what CRM to use, I went on YouTube and just started like doing different reviews or whatever. And I don't know if this creator actually works for the person or the company, but like there was this creator that would take all these different CRMs and pit them against the one they thought was the best. And there were like dozens of videos where it was literally like screen share, but it was like well produced and all these different things. And so it's like, it's not necessarily a podcast, but it's content that really, you brought up the SaaS thing. So I was like, man, being able to like utilize kind of two different things. One, making sure you have somebody who's good on camera, whether that's your CEO or you hire a creator, like there's a whole spectrum of that. And then like trying to do these like comparison stuff, because people are always, especially in business and trying to figure out what service to go to, trying to have actual comparisons to things. What are the nuances of this for those who want to get in the weeds and those sorts of things? Like, and then that can even be clippable content.
Well, I think there's an important definition here that needs to be made. The world of podcasts used to be this side thing that used to exist on its own platforms in its own way that it was consumed. That barrier between like a YouTube video and a podcast is incredibly thin. In fact, they're basically the same thing now. So in my head, podcasts, saying like tutorials or other things like that, that can still be a podcast.
Sure.
Because the point of a podcast is conversation. It's not like this overly produced, like tightly scripted content. It's real, you, me, camera, whatever, talking and having conversation. So it's really important to think about it from that perspective, because we use the term podcast all the time, but podcasts do not have to be just you and me talking. It can be you sitting right there, me with a laptop explaining how to use the CRM. And we're talking together about it. That's a podcast, and it's also a YouTube video that someone will find interesting, clippable, and something you can make online.
And like, I mean, there are podcasts that are monologues, like single person, solo stuff, but there's so few people who can actually pull that off well. And so I think the reason why you and I keep pushing for at least two people talking is because it's just way more like engaging, and that actually lowers the barrier for how good you have to be on camera. Because to be honest, I'm not amazing on camera, but you and I can talk and I can have a conversation. That's way different to me. And so that allows maybe some of my other flaws of being on camera to not actually be as exposed and or even get in the way of what I'm trying to communicate or what the viewer's engaging with. So,
well, the hardest thing that I've recognized in my career of making video content is you can have some of the most engaging personalities. And the moment you sit them in front of a camera and make them look at a lens, it doesn't work.
Bad.
It doesn't work.
The amount of times, like you said, these engaging people who speak for a living have to like redo stuff and restart. The amount of restarts is just hilarious. So
I think when you do podcasts, you need to create an environment that feels like a conversation.
It's chill. Yes.
Like the amount of times you and I in this podcast have actually looked at a camera is hi. Good to see you now, finally. Like, so
I looked at it at the beginning and then now.
And so I think the big thing that we have to think about is like, we aren't all a news anchor, who know how to look down a lens and feel like a person, even though that's still debatable. What we are is humans, and every one of us, even those who struggle with it, can have a conversation. And so if you can build your content around conversation, you can pull in some of the most interesting voices who would have never had a good time on a video. But because it's you and me, we can get a whole nother level of interaction.
Exactly. I love it. The other piece, as we're talking about like creating long form podcasts, but with shorts in mind, we're saying that I feel like there are two different camps, and you can disagree with this, but like short form is for awareness and long form is for depth
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
Broad strokes generally. And so if you're wanting, this is partially why we say like it's good to do both, because everybody needs both.
Mm-hmm.
But like, man, if you only go for one, honestly, if you only go for depth, that's really hard, because that's just going to take a very, very, if anyone has done podcasting before the short form wave and repurposing thing came out, it took a long time. And if it wasn't, it's because nobody else was on Apple Podcasts and you were the only one in that category.
Yeah.
But
and then the reverse is true, because
Yes.
like Hermosi likes to talk about how he knows people who have millions of followers on TikTok, but have had 5 failed launches of businesses because they don't have the trust and the depth with their audience that they thought they had.
Right. Exactly. So you have to cultivate both.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this whole idea of approaching the long form to create shorts, or even like you had mentioned, maybe just do a segment where it's this lightning round question. And because I think that actually goes really well with the interest-based stuff, because usually if you're doing like the rapid fire stuff, a lot of times those are quick answers to quick questions. This is your FAQ page.
Yes.
These are the questions that you're constantly getting in your support center.
Yes.
On sales calls, all these different things. And so like having a segment like that will really play well to that interest-based stuff. So if you don't want to have the whole podcast that way, or if your content is struggling on social, on short form, because maybe your clips, you're not really getting good clips and you just need a little extra oomph, maybe start to include that segment.
Yeah.
Lightning round stuff, and that will give you a lot of great content.
Yeah, I think that's really key to think about. And a lot of people, like, there's that saying when it comes to like building a business, like begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happens with podcasts.
Yep.
If you're thinking about just the podcast, you'll only think about that. But if you're thinking about the short form at the same time, your shorts will actually grow and have more interesting content inside of them versus just, I'm going to pull 5 clips that I think are interesting for the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I do this for a living. Yeah. We see other people's shows that sometimes like that episode may not have had that many clips because we weren't being intentional about that. And so the more intentionality you can do with short form, the better, I believe, you have a chance of growing your show organically and finding new customers.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it will also make your long form more engaging. Mm-hmm. So there's a friend of mine that I've talked with him about his public speaking and how he intentionally throws in specific moments to get people's attention again, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, hold on. Record scratch, we're going to do this part now.
Yeah.
And instead of it just sort of being kind of this lull, right, the whole time, even if the content is good, the way you do things, you can always be growing. And so when you grow in being able to communicate these things that work well on short form, that's actually going to help your engagement, I believe, on the long form.
Yeah.
So
now we had one more topic on the list, but I actually want to throw another one in.
Love it.
So I believe in an earlier episode, you talked a little bit about the idea of a Disney map.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what a Disney map is, the general idea is when Walt Disney created Disney, he based it around 2 things. He based it around the IP and he based it around like movies. And then it eventually started to branch off into all these different things. The movies then became theme park. It became merch. It became music. It became all these different things. And it grew and grew and grew and grew into this empire that it is. So one of the interesting things that happens is if you're, say, a creator online, often you start with the content and then you have to find a way to monetize that content. The cool thing about being a business owner is you get to start with the monetizable product, whatever that thing is that you are selling to somebody else, be it a service, be it a trinket, whatever. and then you get to then use media to sell it. That's actually a way more valuable direction than what most content creators have to go through.
Yes.
The way that I like to think about it is, let's look at somebody like, here's a little one, Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD on YouTube. He's one of the best tech reviewers in the whole of YouTube.
He's like my go-to anytime something tech comes out.
Yeah. He majors on quality, and he always is trying to give a fair and unbiased opinion on technology. He has had several bombs of launches because he has tried to monetize his own product alongside of him telling the story of other people's products. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about that is that he was so good at content, but he was not great at product.
Interesting.
And I think the great thing that every one of our people who are listening to this show who are in the world of business is you are great at product, and then you just need to learn content. And I think it's actually an easier learning curve because a lot of the time when you have to develop this product, you're developing a product that probably didn't exist the exact same way that you make it. And so you're developing, spending all this time, resources, energy on making this product. So then all you have to do is find experts who already know how to do content and work with them to make that connection. And so everyone who's listening to this right now, if you are in that target demographic of business owner and you have something to sell and you're looking to use media to sell it, you are actually in this prime position to say, I'm going to turn my product into content online, my business into content online that then drives revenue to my sales. And I think that is a huge, huge, huge win because you don't have to build a following. You don't have to build all these other things that Marquez Brownlee had to build. You get to already say, I've got this awesome product, and now I just need to build a marketing channel around it versus building a marketing channel to eventually then sell a product. It's a way different game.
And if you, I mean, we talked about this with Rob Ingalls on the last episode, but he brought up the book by Gary Vaynerchuk, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And to make this podcasting is such a weird medium because it is, I feel like it really is built for the give, then ask sort of mentality. This is not a, hey, do you have this problem? Well, check out Waymo. Great. Now your life is better. Like it's not this like infomercial and really shouldn't be. Nobody's going to want to watch it. It really is. This is a way for me to give value and give value and give value and give value and make it really easy for people to like ask you, not you ask them to do anything, but like you've been given so much value that like at some point they're like, I just have to work with these people. I just want that product. Whatever it is they do, like I want in on it. That has happened with us with Diary of a CEO and Flight Story. That has happened for me with Pro Church Tools and their platform Nucleus. Like all these different things. When somebody who has built that much trust kind of says something about their product or whatever, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm all in. It's a long game, but it's very important to make sure that you don't make this, when you say marketing, I just don't want people to get twisted where it's like, this isn't just infomercial. This isn't just all these different, it's what value, how can I make my audience, my clients, my customers' lives better in the specific way that we're gifted in as a company? What can we give away for free? That's going to build the trust.
The big idea is once you've built that trust through giving, they're going to figure out what you do no matter what. Now, I mean, it's a podcast. Throw a 30-second ad read in the middle and people will understand like, oh, this is exactly what this guy does. Like,
which is actually, going back to the whole Netflix thing, I don't know if Netflix has actually said this or if it was just Colin and Samir, but they were saying like, podcasting is like one of the places where it's sort of acceptable to do ad reads, and where it's like, I'm pissed off when Netflix, and we have the ad version. So it's like, it's like, dang it. Why is that's the wrong place to have an ad? But like in podcasts, it's like, that's just normal. That's part for the course.
Oh man.
So yeah, exactly.
So speaking of ads, this is way off topic and maybe people won't even understand this. We might even cut this from the podcast. I've been watching Disney Plus a bunch recently. Yeah. I've been getting ads for Bombas.
Yes.
Like crazy. And it's Doug Gottschalk. His voice is showing up on the podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I know that voice.
Yes.
It's so funny.
If you guys don't know who Doug Gottschalk is, he's awesome, super talented dude. We grew up with him and same church and everything. Anyways, he now works with Bombas a lot, and especially during the holidays, we'll see the Bombas commercial, and it's like, wait, he
also narrates it. So
Doug's voice. This is crazy.
I remember when he was blowing up things in his backyard, and now here, oh my gosh,
and now he's blowing up the
it's so funny
Disney Plus ads.
So those are the one ads I guess I don't mind getting because I'm like, I know that guy.
Yes,
but interesting point there again. I trust him.
Yes.
I trust his creative vision, and I know that when he works with an organization is probably a really valuable one.
Yep.
So it was another form of trust that I got from Doug.
I 100% agree with you, because I feel like Doug's a deep dude, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I feel like I want to purchase Bombas literally just because Doug's worked with them and he said they're a good company.
And it was also just a really good ad.
It was very simple and
it was very good.
Very genuine.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is another key piece, genuine. You have to be as genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
And like, that's just key. So
yeah. Let's talk about this last one.
All right.
Yeah.
This is one that I'm not sure Brian and I will come out on the same end of the spectrum as this. So talk to me about what your thoughts are around live streaming right now.
So there's this interesting thing that I've been hearing more and more about is the idea of parasocial relationships. And I think this is a interesting thing that I'm still curious to see somebody pull into the world of business a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So there is this guy out there that a lot of people have probably heard about at this point called iShowSpeed.
Cincinnati boy.
Yeah, he is a Cincinnati boy.
I won't diss him too much because he's a Ronaldo fan and doesn't think Messi is the GOAT. But he can be wrong about something.
This isn't a sports podcast, okay? So one of the things that is interesting is iShowSpeed is not the top subscribed live streaming show out there. He's on Twitch. I believe Kai Cenat is the highest subbed streamer. But one of the things that I'm seeing is that there is insane brand loyalty associated with iShowSpeed. Like everyone calls him Speed for short. And one of the interesting things that I am seeing is that when we're talking about media and we're talking about things like podcasts or short form or anything like that, the shorter you can make a response curve from somebody wanting to connect with you and your show and your business or whatever, the way you can shorten that, the shorter that connection is, the more trust is built.
Yep.
And so for Speed, he did this thing where I think he went to like 50 states, like doing streams, like kind of like, I think after Ryan Trahan did that over the summer, they're now doing that. And the interesting thing is I really didn't pay any attention to him before that. But after that, I see him everywhere and he's in everything. And even when he was here in Cincinnati the other day, he was with FC Cincinnati and like he was in a jersey and he saw photos about that and all this sort of thing. And so while I don't know, I'm not like a huge fan of Speed and his content is not really my sort of thing. What I am learning is that everyone who is a fan of Speed trusts him deeply. And so if he talks about something or in like does a sponsorship of something, people buy.
Right.
And it's insane how that works. And so for me, in a way, I'm wondering if the future of podcasting is live shows. Because it shortens that time, that distance between who your audience is and you. because there are comment feeds. You are live streaming and you can read the comments while these things are happening. They're creating these moments of like, oh, I love this. You talked about, you always talk about Pro Church Tools podcast. You talk about how cool it was that you asked a question and they answered it on the show. But I bet the lead time between those two things was very long.
Oh,
It was not short.
Right. Because it also, I don't know that they actually answered it that week even that I posted it.
Exactly. So the interesting thing is if we can shorten that gap of time between question and response or engagement and response, the faster we can get to trust. And so speed has the trust of a lot of people, especially younger generation who is really cool with the idea of streaming. Now, obviously he's a Twitch streamer. So like that is the platform that he's on. Businesses generally aren't on Twitch.
Right.
And that's totally okay. Because there's lots of different places where you can do live streaming. But the more that you can do, take that curve, shorten it so that you have the ability to hear from a audience member, a customer, a prospect, whatever, and your response, the greater trust can be built between you. And that's why I think live streaming and podcasting, I think, are going to eventually merge because a big thing about podcasting too is that they want a lot of times like to grow a podcast, you have to create mountains of content and do a ton of podcasts. The biggest podcasts in the world post multiple times a week.
Right.
And they post pretty much every day clips from old podcasts and other things like that. Diary of a CEO does that.
All the time.
And I think the big thing is that if we can create environments as businesses where we are consistently getting in front of people who we believe to be our prospect, our ICP, like those are more valuable moments. And then if instead of just a podcast and short form content getting in front of them, what if it's a live stream every week? What if it's a moment where you are having a conversation with somebody who's really interesting or knowledgeable in the field? Like say you're a drone manufacturer and you bring in someone from the FAA that people know. And you're like, well, hey, any other drone people out there or other pilots or other things like that would love to hear from this guy. And you can watch the stream of comments and have a conversation with them and ask them the questions that your people are asking. And it creates this ability for us to, like me, the average person who's watching that stream, be able to have a conversation with somebody I would never have access to.
What's interesting, so there's a YouTuber and he does like coaching and consulting, Omar Altakori, and he what his kind of format is, his podcast is always, well, at least from what I understand, his podcast is live for his inner circle. So those who have like kind of paid a bit more to get more content. Podcast is live. He has a conversation with his guest. Then afterwards, those people, whoever showed up for the stream, and usually I think it's on Zoom or something, then they are now able to ask questions. Sometimes it's actually like, and it's not just like the chat questions. It's actually like, all right, I almost showed up to a webinar and now I'm being unmuted and buzzed in. I get to ask my question, and then me as that person who's in that inner circle now gets access to somebody who there is no way I would ever get access to them. But because I paid just a little bit more, I was able to get access to them and get this question answered. Then what Omar does is he posts the long form minus, well, sometimes he posts with the questions, but the people who are joining him for free just don't get that same level of access and being able to ask questions.
Well, then here's an interesting idea that I just had based on what you were saying. So like a business owner could create a podcast where they have a specific niche market and they invite their ICP onto this show. And they can live stream it, watch it. And then what you say is like, hey, this is the conversation that we're having. You can put questions in the comments and stuff while we're going live. Then I'm going to end the podcast, stay live, bring in these people who I believe to be my ICP into the conversation and say, hey, what do you have questions for my awesome guest here? And basically you're...
Wait, so they're asking the
ICP gets to ask the guest on the podcast questions.
Okay, interesting.
So basically what you're doing is you're giving access to really interesting people who may have a valuable word to say inside of the market that you're in. and you've just created a channel where all of a sudden your customers trust you because you gave them access to somebody they actually are like they know and they're interested in or has valuable knowledge for something that they could do. I see that I'm winning you over to this idea of live streaming a little bit. I like this.
This version for sure. The Twitch streaming, I don't think works at all.
No.
Unless you are a B2C and have a great personality on camera.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's essentially, it's almost like having a live podcast, not like digitally online, but like in a room of people almost, but you're digitizing it.
Yeah.
And that makes it more accessible depending on, people's schedules, where they live in the world, your company, if you're a global brand or something. I think those are ways that you can drive engagement and potentially customers.
Well, I think another way to look at it is this. We have like a whole series of words that we use in business culture that is not used in popular culture.
That's true.
Like the word webinar. Most people outside of business don't use the word webinar.
This is true.
But a webinar can be a podcast.
Yep.
Now it can be. Because back in the day, a webinar was a Zoom recording that like was
slides.
Never that interest. Like it was great.
Sure.
They usually provided value, but it never was something that would then be turned into extra content down the road.
Yep.
But now webinars can also be viewed as podcasts. It can be a conversation. You can sell it as people like to the inside of your company. Say you've got a large company, you're creating a monthly webinar, which is a conversation with somebody that is inside the industry that is trying to build trust with your organization and help develop your employees. You can do all these sort of things with that. That was a webinar.
Yep.
But it's a podcast.
Yep.
It's just a conversation. And I think that's the big thing that we should be taking away from this right now is all these terms that we're seeing are just growing closer together.
Yeah.
A webinar, a podcast, even an online course, a YouTube video, all these sort of things are all becoming the exact same thing.
And I don't think that that's a problem. Like,
no.
I'm getting a lot of people on LinkedIn who are like OG audio only podcasters that are pretty pissed at this. But like, if I'm thinking about engagement and reach and growing an audience and growing in depth with an audience, I don't see the problem. I think it's just another, the next level of iteration, the next evolution of this, which is kind of awesome.
I would completely agree. And I think it's just a valuable thing for us to say, hey, what is the next evolution of what this content should look like?
Yeah.
How do we think a little bit more scrappy, a little bit more like a startup and say, how can we change the way that this approach happens?
Yep.
We had an awesome company in our studio doing a webinar in a way that I've never seen before.
I know. It was so engaging.
So cool. And
oh my gosh.
That also still could have been turned into a podcast.
100%.
It could have been put on all these different platforms, but like they're thinking about audience engagement in a different way that I think everyone needs to start doing.
Yep,
like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter if that audience is 1,000 people who subscribe to you on a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if it's 300 employees inside of a company. And it doesn't matter if it's just your ICP that's on a newsletter and you say, hey, I'm going to have this live conversation with XYZ. Stay involved and you can ask him a question yourself.
Yep.
All those sort of things that all fits in the world of podcasting.
Yep.
And that's why I think podcasting is eventually going to become live stream.
Yep. Well, I think everything we've talked about is really just going towards showing how the biggest companies in the world are seeing the value of the attention that conversations and the access to people gets. And so I think that's partly why I'm excited that we're here in Cincinnati trying to help Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky businesses with getting that kind of attention, getting that kind of relatable access, getting people to know, like, and trust you in a way that wasn't possible before, or at least wasn't really thought of before.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just a really cool time to be doing this. And yeah, so I would just encourage everybody who is watching this, be thinking about what we've talked about and how your business can grow in how are your customers, your clients getting access to you? What kinds of ways are you reaching out to them consistently over time? And are you also kind of thinking not only the depth, but also awareness? So
I think the big thing is we really just need to think about the fact that the biggest companies in the world right now are investing in the idea of real human conversation.
Yep.
And I think the more that we can do that, the more that we can actually meet our target audience wherever they're at. So if our target market is on TikTok, then great. Let's make short form TikTok content that will work out of our podcast. If it's on Instagram or LinkedIn, let's make these short form videos that are engaging and also interesting and informative. And if it's just that you're trying to have conversations with industry experts, the best way to get them is on a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Platform them, you make them feel comfortable, you make them feel honored and seen and known. So thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of Grow Your Podcast. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're in the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, and you're a CEO, you're a marketer, you're a thought leader, keynote speaker, someone who is trying to invest into their personal or business brand, I would love to talk with you. We think video podcasting is one of the absolute best ways of growing your brand over time, because we think that when people see your face and hear how you think, you will attract the right kind of client. So if you want to learn more about how video podcasting can do that, let's set up a discovery call. Just go to cincinnatipodcaststudio.com/discovery or click the link in the description. And I want to thank you so much for your time, attention, and trust, and we'll see you next time.